Hi, my name is Philip. I am from Connecticut, but I live in Brooklyn, New York.
So, Philip, you had a real bad date. Did you end up paying for the bill?
I did.
Did you give her or him a kiss?
I did not.
And how long did the date actually last?
About 3 hours.
So, take me back to the beginning. What's the first thing you remember? How did you meet this person?
So we met on an app, and we live very near each other, but the story sort of starts before the date started. We decided to meet at this movie theater that's very close by to me. We weren't going to a movie, it was just easy, and I didn't want to give anyone my address. And I was feeling a little bit weird that day, so I took a Pepto-Bismol before I left, and I showed up on the date, and we started walking, and we walked kind of towards the promenade, but then down to do the Brooklyn Bridge parks. It was like cold the 2 days before, because it was at that weird transition between spring and summer, and you know how New York can just be all over the place with that. And I was way overdressed. I was hot, and I was just like sweating, and I didn't look that, I'm sure I looked cute, but I didn't feel cute. And we're walking, and we're getting along, and everything is fine, and we get up towards kind of like halfway up Brooklyn Heights, and I kind of felt my stomach lurch, and I was like, oh, okay, no, it's fine. Everything is fine. So we keep walking, we make it to the top of Brooklyn Heights, kind of like right where the Brooklyn Bridge gets off, and where all those pizza places, there's a Shake Shack, there's like a lobster place, and we decide to get Grimaldi's pizza, which I love. So I go in, and I buy the cheese pizza, and we wait for a while, and as we're sitting there, I'm just starting to still feel like a little bit weird. And at this point, he's kind of like looking at me funny. He's like, are you okay? And I was like, yeah, no, I'm totally fine. Like, I'm just like, it's hot, nothing. Like, he was like, well, why don't we head like back towards where we live, and we can find somewhere that's like really like just like cooler and like easier to have this pizza. And at Grimaldi's you can't get slices, so we had like a whole pie. We're walking back, and I look at him and I go, hey, I need to tell you something. He goes, what? And I go, I have a really sensitive stomach. He goes, okay. And I said, I have to leave right now. And he was like, what? And I said, I have to go immediately. And we are 15 minutes from the nearest bathroom by running. Like, I'm nowhere near a toilet. And my stomach is fully somersaulting. I am like, I feel like my insides are convulsing within me. And I'm like, look, I have to go, but like, I'm going to text you my address. Can you just like meet me there? And he was like, what? And I was like, yeah, just, I will meet you there. And I turn around and I start walking, and just like a little bit faster than he was, and then I start full on running. I am sprinting through Brooklyn Heights. My stomach, I feel like my world is ending. I am in jeans. It is 90 degrees. It had just rained. I am like, this is the worst day of my life. And I'm like halfway there, and I'm like really in a full-blown sprint. The poor guy was like, must have been watching me for like 4 blocks, just like running down through Brooklyn. Like, imagine if he was like, I just think about his perspective. He was thinking, oh, this guy hates me. But no, I'm fully losing my mind, and I'm running, and I start to realize that I'm not gonna make it. I'm not gonna make it to my apartment. And I would say I'm about another like 4 minutes run from my apartment when it starts. It starts. It was an unsafe fart trying to just like keep myself going, and it just starts to kind of come out, and I'm like, oh, and I'm trying my best to just like make it as far as I can. I turn the corner, and this woman is like, why are you running so fast? And I was like, I have to go. And I'm rushing down, and I finally make it into the apartment, but all of my clothes are like stuck to my body. I am like ripping off my clothes, and like it's all over my apartment. It's like I get my pants off, and I'm like, oh, there's a lot in there. And then like I had to get to the bathroom, and then it was on the floor. And I finally make it into the bathroom, and it is just like full-blown apocalypse into the toilet. And I am like absolutely mortified. I do manage to text him my address, and I am like, I finally like, I get it out of my system, and I was like, I have no idea how close this guy is. So I start like running around my apartment. I've got like Febreze in one hand, Windex and paper towels, or Windex in my other hand, and paper towels under my my armpit, and I'm like Febrezing the whole apartment and like Windexing the floor and like literally sopping up like sewage, if you will, from the ground. And I'm like running. I like took all my clothes, I threw them in the sink, and because I didn't want them in the laundry room because the laundry is in my living room. I was like, I can't do this. So I threw it in the sink and I like turn on the sink and I like soak it, and then I just like close the door to the bathroom and then like finish cleaning up the floor, put on some new clothes, and right when I put on the new clothes, I get a knock on my door and he's like, Philip? And I'm like, yeah, just a minute. And I'm like in my underpants, I'm like trying to get another pair of shorts on. I'm like, well, I was wearing jeans, and now I'm trying to get shorts on, obviously. And I'm like putting everything back on my body, and I like open the door, and he's like, hey, are you okay? I was like, yeah, I'm totally fine. Like, I'm so sorry about that. And then we hung out for another like 2 hours. And eventually I was like, yeah, so I'm so sorry to leave you. Like, I hope you didn't think I was lying to you. And he's like, no, like, you looked really afraid. You looked terrified. And then he went home. No kiss, like I said. And that was probably the worst date I've ever been on. And I think it's a little different because I was the reason it was such a bad date.
So many questions. Do you have any roommates, or like was anyone there to help you, or do you live alone?
I do have a roommate. I don't know where she was, but she wasn't there that day.
What do you think was like the issue? Like, were you like hungover from the day before? Or, like, do you know, was it just a bad bug in the stomach?
I have a pretty sensitive stomach, but usually like I took the Pepto at the beginning of the day because I felt a little wonky, and it just, I don't know, maybe it was a sign. You know what I mean? I was not supposed to go on that date, or we were not supposed to fall in love. I don't know what it was, but it was rough.
So as the date is happening, is the date going well? Like, you know, before...
Actually, I think one of the interesting things is I did get a second and a third date out of this.
Okay.
So not all bad dates mean no second date. I did kiss him the second date. I couldn't bring myself to do that after what was most likely the most mortifying moment of my entire life.
So as you're running away, as you're sprinting away,
yeah,
what do you think is going through his head at this moment?
I thought he thought that I was just like, I decided that I didn't want to be on the date anymore and that I needed to like run away. I left this man with a whole pizza pie, a promise of a text, and then he saw me run for 10 blocks straight. Because I didn't think to like take a left, you know what I mean? Like, it was like I barely remember point A to point B. I just remember pooping in my pants. I barely remember point A to point B. I just remember pooping in my pants.
As you're running away, you hadn't texted him yet, right?
I was trying to text him.
The address.
I was trying to text him while I was running. I did. I think I got the text out like maybe before I got home, but it was like it's hard to text and run for your life. You know what I mean? I think I'm really glad I got the text out because I'm sure he was just sitting there thinking like, this guy's crazy. Like, he literally just left. This guy's out of his mind.
But once he comes over, like, how is the rest of the date? Is everything is just normal, or?
It was awkward. It was really awkward. He was nice about the whole thing, but like after all of that, like I didn't really feel cute, and he didn't really like make any like moves towards me, and it just became one of those like everyone was just kind of like on edge the whole rest of the date. He was like, do you want a drink? And I was like, no, I think like maybe like we should wrap this up soon.
So you have a sensitive stomach. Has that ever happened to you before, where it's just you can't control it? And
it's happened to me a few times in my life, but never to that extent.
If you were him in his position, like if that had happened to you, how do you think you would have reacted in the same similar situation?
I probably would have still shown up to the apartment. I would have. I mean, I have a sensitive stomach, so I would be like totally empathetic to it. I'd be like, yeah, go. I will find you a toilet. You know what? Like, I'll make it happen. But if I were him and like didn't have a sensitive stomach, I might like start heading home and then just see if I got the text.
From my perspective, it seems like you guys had a good time with just one major interruption.
Major flaw.
But
it was a bad date in the sense, not in the sense that we weren't clicking, but in the sense that it was one of the worst dates I've ever had in my entire life.
Okay, this is a portion where I will guess where you met this person. You guys had a great time together, and I think just because it seems like the connection was there, I would say Hinge. I think the connection was there, and it seems like you guys had a good time other than the major interruption. So I'm going to guess Hinge. Perfect.
You got it. You got it.
All right.
I mean, I think that the fact that I got a second date at all screams Hinge.
How do you feel about the dating apps? Do you prefer one or the other?
I used to prefer Hinge significantly. This happened about a little over a year ago now, I think. And then I ended up in like a relationship for a little bit, like a couple months after that. Before I started that relationship, Hinge was the best by far because I had the best people. It was a little bit slower, so I wouldn't match with like 5 people in a day and get overwhelmed. But then they introduced the whole roses and standouts thing, where you get the only people you're really attracted to are, I mean, not intrinsically, but like the people you're very attracted to are locked behind a paywall, and even if you had premium, you still have to spend the $3-4 to get a new rose. And I also recently had it, and I was getting like a lot of fake profiles that were like really funny, incredibly cursed profiles. They all kind of suck right now. I think that it might be one of those things where whoever the newest in the scene is kind of the best, because if they have like a nice rollout, you'll get a lot of influencers and people who are really like interested in sharing it, and then you get these like micro communities, and like the quality of people on it are kind of looking for something more, whereas like the longer something is out, the more people just go like, oh, I might as well try it, and then it kind of gets diluted, and then the fake profiles show up and things like that.
Any final advice, any last words for someone who might be in a similar situation as you are, or as you were in?
I don't want to say wear a diaper on your date, because I think that could cause more problems than what happened to me. I would say if you're not feeling well, even though I didn't feel bad enough to necessarily want to cancel the date at the beginning of the date, if you're not feeling well, whether it's like an illness or just your stomach hurts, like if somebody likes you, they'll reschedule.